Our feet are our foundation for balance. And so challenging our balance is one of the best ways to train our foot function and to integrate our feet with the rest of our body. But most people don't train their balance until they have some kind of injury or a fall. When you think balance training, you probably think standing on one leg, which is too hard for some people and too boring for others. But when you know how to scale the challenge and make it fun, you can find your flow and get addicted to the process. Balance is possibly the most underrated and undertrained quality of movement in our modern world, and there's a few key reasons for that. One, people may not know that they can train their balance. They may think it's just a function of their age or their genetics, and therefore not realize that it's actually a trainable skill. Two, people don't know why they should train their balance. So they may not realize that they actually do have poor balance, or they may not know all the benefits of balance training. And in fact, most people don't do any kind of balance training unless they have some kind of injury or fall that they have to rehabilitate from. And three, people don't know how to train their balance in a scalable, progressive, and enjoyable way, and therefore it just doesn't get done. So in this video, we're going to address all of that and help you jump on the balance training train. And the best place to start with that is actually to understand a bit about what our balance system is and how it works. So there's two primary components to our balance system. And the first one is our sense of balance. So this is basically the inputs that our nervous system receive from our vestibular system in our inner ears, our visual system, obviously our eyes, and our somatosensory system, which is all of the receptors in our skin, our muscles, our joints, our nerves, all of which combine to give our brains and our nervous systems an accurate representation of where our body is in space relative to gravity. So all of that input gets processed by the brain, and that allows it to give an appropriate movement output, which is our expression of balance, which is the second component. So all of these coordinated movements happen in our body to maintain stability in different tasks and environments. So our balance is essentially a complex interaction between our nervous system and our musculoskeletal system, both of which are highly adaptable systems that respond to progressive demands and challenges, meaning, fortunately, balance is a trainable skill. So accepting certain specific conditions, we know that anyone has the capacity to train and improve their balance, regardless of their age, their weight, or athleticism. But the next question is, well, why bother? And to answer this, of course, we like to start at the feet. As bipedal animals, our feet are our foundation for movement and balance, and so therefore challenging our balance is an ideal way to train aspects of our foot function, such as their ability to tolerate load, their intrinsic strength and stability, as well as their coordination and integration with the rest of the lower limb. This integration results in a greater ability to generate strength and power efficiently, as well as our ability to recover from perturbations to our balance, both of which can improve athletic performance and reduce the risk of common injuries. This is why balance training is a central focus in all sports rehab and prehab programs. And of course, improving our balance will help us prevent falls, which may not seem like a very immediate risk to you, but statistically, falls are actually one of the biggest causes of disability and death in our elderly population. So the sooner you start improving your balance and movement health, the better your ability to age gracefully and dynamically and continue to enjoy the activities you love. The other amazing thing about balance training, especially when you're training at the right level for you, that is not too easy and not too hard, is that it can increase neuroplasticity, which is essentially the ability of your nervous system to learn and make new connections. So all of this contributes to a greater overall adaptability and resilience of your brain and body, and the best part is it is super accessible and scalable and can actually be a heap of fun when you fully tune in and find your flow. So now you know you can train your balance and you know why you should, but how do you start? The first thing to do is a self-assessment to get a baseline measurement and just a good understanding of where your current balance capacity is. And we have a whole video that shows you how to do this step by step, and you'll come away from that video with a level between 1 and 5, which will help you understand where to start on your journey and will also be a great reassessment to come back to help you track progress along your journey. So let's just take some time now to show you how that journey could look. And the first thing you want to play with is your stance. So obviously a wider stance is going to be easier than a narrower stance to balance. It's just much easier to balance on a wide surface than a narrow surface. This is part of why we're very big advocates of splaying out your toes and wearing wide toe box shoes. But to challenge your balance more, you can narrow your stance. That's a good first step. Then you can actually split your stance. So that would be where you bring one foot back. You could keep the heel down, or you could lift the heel up for a bit more challenge. And that would just shift your body weight onto the front foot. And it also can give you a little bit of toe extension mobility demand. From there, you can bring this foot more in line. So that would be a tandem stance to show you from this front angle. And that has just narrowed your stance even more. And you could do that again with heel down or with heel up. From there, you can go even narrower, or you would just completely load one leg, and then you could have a high knee. The high knee is going to be more challenging because you don't have this leg out here to help you balance. And then to narrow your stance even more, you could go into like a heel hover where all of your body weight is going into your forefoot. And we call this ninja stance. So there are a bunch of other stance variations that we go through, but those are the fundamental ones. And in each of those stances, you can increase the challenge by playing with your visual system or your vestibular system. So visual system is just moving your eyes, so you'd keep your head the same. You could move your eyes left and right or up and down. And then vestibular system, the easiest way to do that is to just look up, left, or right. Now I say easy, it's more a simple way to challenge your vestibular system. It actually makes the balancing much harder. So you'll find that, say you can balance in split stance or tandem stance, fine. Once you add in a vestibular or visual challenge, you'll notice you get a lot more wobbles. You could also play with closing your eyes, so that just takes away the visual system completely, and then that will make it a lot more challenging in whatever stance you're doing. The other thing you can then do is to progress the surface that you're balancing on. So obviously we've been doing all of that on flat ground, and especially if it's quite a firm, flat ground, that will be the easiest surface to balance on. Then you could go into something like a rolled up towel. And that actually, because it's a little bit squishy, that will just increase the challenge to your stability, and your foot will have to do a lot more work in order to help maintain that stability. And then obviously if you have two rolled up towels, then you could do the split stance, you could do the tandem stance, etc. And you can also do all of those stances on a towel like so. So this is actually a really great place for most people to start, especially because it's soft on the feet. Because the next place that we would go is into a more domed and a harder surface like the Soulmate. And this will again do something similar to the towel. It's not squishy, but the domed surface will make your foot work harder to maintain that stability, as you can see. And again, you can do all of those stance variations with the Soulmate. You could go narrow, you could go split stance, you could go tandem, you could go single leg, and you could go ninja. Then an even harder surface is going narrower on the beam. So if you can see, the beam is a lot narrower than the Soulmate, and that is going to make it even more challenging for your stability, and also a lot more challenging in terms of the load tolerance in your feet. So this is definitely our advanced balance tool, and you'd really only want to work towards this through going through those progressions from the towel to the Soulmate and then up to the beam, unless you've already done a lot of barefoot training, barefoot strength training and balance training. You may be ready for this. So that's basically progressing your stance, progressing challenges with your visual and vestibular system, and progressing the surface. But a lot of that can be a little bit boring and repetitive if all you're doing is just trying to stand still. And balance is really supposed to be both a static stability, but also a dynamic skill. And that's where we like to incorporate a lot of play-based training. so that you can actually get a lot of this challenge, say, to your visual and vestibular system through just throwing and catching a hacky sack as a really good example. And you can see that my eyes are having to move, my head's having to move, and the further I throw it around, then my whole body is having to move as well while maintaining stability on that one leg. Or you could do the exact same thing with 2 legs down in a tandem stance and so on. And then if I lower my center of gravity down here, then it becomes an even more of a challenge on my strength and mobility and so on. So we've got a range of Soulmate sessions that will guide you through that process of different play-based challenges that will explore a lot of that, and they're a lot of fun. They're all free. You can go and get started on them. You don't need to have an actual Soulmate to do that. You can do it on flat ground. You can do it with 2 rolled-up towels, and you don't need a hacky sack either. You can use a balled-up pair of socks. And if you're keen to connect with other people who are on the same train, we have our digital community where you can share struggles and achievements or ask questions. We always love seeing what you're up to, and we are always happy to help you out on your journey.